Well, hello everybody, it's me, the Reluctant Hermit. So nice to see you. I wanted to talk about the creative process and being fearless in your content creation because something came up recently where I've been talking with several friends, and I know that a lot of us deal with anxiety around creating things. I do as well, pretty consistently. But there have been a couple things that I've been taught recently, and over the last couple of years that have really helped. That I wanted to talk about because I think when we're starting to make stuff, there's a little voice in our head that always kind of goes, oh, what if someone doesn't like it? Oh, what if it's not good? Oh, I'm gonna look like an idiot. That little voice is something that I've had to address my entire life, and one of the most important aspects of that is learning to make that voice a friend of mine, because to me, that little voice is more of a like, oh, look, you're stepping outside of your comfort zone. And stepping outside of your comfort zone, I find, is actually the most magical place to be. There was an interview with David Bowie where someone asked him, like, how do you do your creative process? How do you keep making such incredible music? And he said, well, the metaphor that I like to think of is that you walk out into the ocean and you get to a certain point where you have your head just above the waves and your feet are just barely touching the ocean floor. And that's where the magic happens. And that little voice lets you know you're in the spot where magic happens. The other thing that I would say is that learning how to change your perspective around why you do what you do and how you do what you do and how you work with yourself in what you're doing is really important. And the thing that I want to talk about in terms of the why you do it is because I found over the course of 10 years of trying to learn singing and trying to do performance, I started out wanting to impress other people, and when I would bring something to somebody and they didn't have the response that I hoped for or wanted, I felt really defeated, and it made it really difficult to pick up what I was doing and to continue on with pursuing it. And I realized after a while that if I was to do the things that I loved, the person that I needed to impress was myself. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like, I'm super impressed with myself. It's more like, I can see progress is happening. Being micro-ambitious with how you pursue something is a really good way of growing gradually and holistically to the point where you get less afraid and less frustrated with the result of what you are making. So I would say if you are wanting to make music, if you're wanting to create a Twitch stream, if you're wanting to create a YouTube content, I know that I'm very new to YouTube, but there are these things that just kind of feel like if I could have learned them 10 years ago, I would be in a very different place. So if that's valuable, I hope that you hear that, like, learning to figure out why you do that is important. Do it from inside out. Don't go from outside in. Do it for yourself because you love it, and it'll grow holistically. Believe me. So another point that I wanted to make was how you do what you do is also important. And what I mean by that is if you start creating something and you have a judgmental state of mind with it, judgment can be useful. It can be a useful tool. It can be a thing where you have a discerning mind around what you're doing. But if you judge yourself too harshly consistently, it can really hamper what you're making. So for example, like if I play something on guitar and I screw it up and go, oh God, what's wrong with me? I can't believe, like, I've done this a whole bunch of times that there's something wrong with me. I have a negative feedback loop with my practice. So the thing that I would encourage everyone to try and look at is, instead of coming at things from like I have to be hypercritical of myself for something to be good, it's like actually just be in a place of observance. Judgment can lead to a feeling of kind of smothering yourself, and that's where like a lot of friends and I have talked about having a creative slump where you're just like, I just don't feel motivated to do it. And it's like, that's because you've had a feedback loop in your practice and what you're doing where you've just judged yourself where it's not going where you want to. And the difference between a judgmental mind and an observant mind is you get rid of any sense of judgment in what you're doing. You get really present in your body, and the way that you do that is you really take a moment just to like take a couple deep breaths, focused on what you're doing, just kind of being like, this is my time, this is my me time, this is what I need to do right now, and I'm just going to be present with my body. And suddenly you're not thinking about what someone might have thought if they heard you singing that note. You're not thinking about the gig that you have in the future. You're just completely present with what you're doing. And whatever you are practicing, if something comes up where the result is not what you want, instead of getting angry with yourself, an observant mind goes, okay, that happened, and you keep going on. And afterwards, you get to reflect on what was going on. You're like, well, in that moment, I might have felt a little bit tight in my chest. Have I eaten enough today? Have I drank enough water? Is there been something that's going on emotionally for me that is making this really, really, really hard to do? And by doing that, you create a structure where you can actually see the things that are affecting you, and you can actually work on them each gradually. And what it becomes is a way of doing things where you don't go into judgment. You feel really clear about why things are happening the way that they're happening. The other thing that I want to reiterate is that practicing consistently is important, but you don't necessarily have to do something every single day. And I was talking about being micro-ambitious. For myself, I've been pursuing singing for 10 years. What I found was that if I tried to do something every single day, I got kind of exhausted with what I was doing. And my mentor told me, give yourself the time to do it 3 times a week, but be really present with those things and be really observant of what's going on in your body. And as a result, I've had more growth in my singing in the last 3 months than I have in 10 years. And it's because of the culmination of various little lessons about, like getting rid of judgment, learning to be more observant, and to figure out that I want to do this for myself because I love it. So another thing that I will say is that in terms of content creators, what I've definitely found is that I love watching people do things when I can tell that's where they are coming from. If I watch someone and I feel like they're doing it to be accepted or to take something as opposed to like expressing and giving, I have a hard time connecting to that person. So the reason that I bring that up is that if you can do all of those things, and then when you are going to do your performance, your stream, whatever it is, just fall in love with the process of what you're doing. I guarantee people that are encouraging will show up. And that's one other thing that I also want to reiterate. As a creative person, it's important to have people that encourage you around you, but it's also important to be able to receive encouragement from them, but also constructive criticism. That's where that concept of an observant mind comes into. When you hear something and it's kind of uncomfortable, that's your feet almost on the ground, head just above the water moment, where you're kind of like, I'm uncomfortable. Okay, choose to grow from it. And just a little bit of advice there: when you hear something that upsets you, that is around constructive criticism in your creative process, I take deep breaths. I take a deep breath and go, okay, what can I learn from that? How can I respond to that? And by slowing things down, you get out of the sense of confusion and irritation, and you get to be in this place where not only are you connecting with someone who has given you feedback, but you're also creating a space where you both get to grow. And also, the person that has given you constructive criticism learns to value what they're saying as well. So it becomes a two-way street. They're not just something to you. You're giving them an opportunity to also feel heard. So that also just holistically grows not only what you are doing, but your relationships, your community, and your experience. Some people that I would suggest going and watching in terms of being that sort of level of fearless, I will put a link actually down in the description, but just a couple off the top of my head. D-Does plays, I Got Tats, Jedi Greg, and I think a couple others might come to mind after I'm done with this video. But those are some of the people that I go to watch when I have to remind myself, oh, just because I feel like I had maybe a night where I wasn't able to connect with everyone as much doesn't mean that I wasn't doing the thing that I love. Because everyone has days where they need a little bit of encouragement. And I suggest that That's another thing that you should do for yourself. As content creators, go get inspired. Go find people that light you up. Go hang out with them. Get to know them. And enjoy just being in the process of developing a friendship. The other thing that I would also recommend, if possible, if you have a very specific interest, like for myself, I love singing and music. I went and found a mentor that I connect with. And when you're looking for a mentor, find somebody that can create a friendship with you, but also still can give you feedback where you can hear it and it doesn't make you want to shut down. That's a really, really, really important thing. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you are having a wonderful holiday season. If it's a little disjointed, it's just kind of a free flow sort of thought process that I wanted to talk about, because I was given some feedback recently that someone said, I really, really, really respect that you're fearless on stream when you're recording something, and it inspires me to start my own Twitch stream. And I just wanted to give a little gratitude out to that person. FilmNikita, if you actually watch this, thank you for inspiring me to address this topic, because I struggle with this constantly, and getting it out and talking about it helps reiterate the process for myself. So again, everyone, much love to all of you. Have a wonderful holiday season. Take care of yourselves, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Take care. Love you all. Bye.